We've had quite a few pretty wild and crazy weeks in the ACC. This one may be the most upside down as Georgia Tech loses, Miami loses, Florida State finally wins an ACC game, Duke wins at Clemson. This week was wild. So let's just jump right into it. And, one of the things, again, that was kind of crazy about this week, North Carolina finally wins a conference game under Coach Bill Belichick. They were last in our rankings for a long time. They finally jumped Boston College before last week. This week they jump up again, jumping Syracuse after beating them pretty soundly on Friday. And it seems like Bill Belichick's kind of making some progress. They won 27-10 on Friday, the best win of the Belichick era. And look, they're not going to go win a national championship this year, or really do anything much this year, but there's some optimism that, could they pick up another win or two, finish the year like, they're making some progress, make some big moves in the portal, and be competitive next year? It's not unthinkable anymore, right? A couple of weeks ago, we thought the Belichick era was a one-year thing. Hey, they're looking better. Boston College stays at 16. They were actually pretty competitive with Notre Dame. It was 12-7 at halftime, but they had 3 picks, so hard to win playing that way against a team with more talent than you. Up next, we have Clemson, and I try not to make these ACC power rankings overly Clemson-centric, but I do want to pause and at least talk about this one a little bit. Clemson looked great on offense. Cade Klubnik was back, not 100%, but he looked fantastic. They were without wide receiver Bryant Wesco, but TJ Moore looked really good, had a great touchdown on the screen pass. They finally gave some rotation, gave some snaps to Gideon Davidson, the freshman running back, and he and Adam Randall both looked better for it, splitting that share a little bit. Coach Sweeney kind of basically said that running backs coach CJ Spiller needed to do a better job of that. Not sure why, that's lost on him as the game goes on, and Adam Randall's taking essentially every snap. I don't know why that has to be corrected in between games, not at halftime, but nevertheless, it was corrected. We saw Gideon Davidson. A little bit of hope for the future there. He looked good. I wanted to see Vizina, but didn't really make a whole lot of sense here to put him in, as Klubnik was excellent. So the offense was really good. And actually, I thought the offensive line stood out. Colin Sadler wasn't healthy, and that's a guy that I've sort of harped on as someone who struggled. He didn't play in this game. And Harris Sewell went down with an injury. So with both of them out, you saw Parks at right guard. You saw Tristan Lee back healthy at left tackle, which shifted Braden Jacobs to left guard. This is by far the best personnel group of 5 starters they've had, or 5 players they've had on that offensive line. Looked much better. Braden Jacobs playing out of position at guard instead of tackle, but he impresses me generally. So some positives there. But this defense, Clemson's defense, Tom Allen has not made progress on fixing it. They are terrible. This is probably, you can go all the way back to 2011. This defense is worse. This is the worst defense. I don't know. Maybe they're not that much worse than last year even, but just no progress. In particular, I thought the safeties were horrible. Really disappointing to see Mickey Kahn's entire group just look awful. Stood out to me that Khalil Barnes, he was awesome as a freshman. He had a sophomore slump. He looks worse. Ronan Hannafin got off to a good start to the year. He's just okay. There's none of the safety play is really very good. Cornerback, I love Coach Mike Reed, but the cornerbacks look bad too. Avion Terrell, obviously he's a star, was talked about as a first rounder. I don't know if he's still first rounder, but he'll still get taken second round or something like that. But he didn't look great. Ashton Hampton had some mistakes. There was a sequence right before halftime that really was just kind of the bottom of the barrel for the secondary, probably the worst secondary play I've ever seen. Clemson was down 21-7. They come all the way back, make it 28-21, Clemson leading, and Duke throws the ball directly to Ashton Hampton, drops the interception. Duke then goes for it on 4th and 3 from their own side of the field, which seemed crazy at the time. They get it. But then right after that, they throw what should have been a pick 6 or at least a pick to Avion Terrell. He drops it. Then Ashton Hampton commits a pass interference. And then Khalil Barnes busts terribly for 43-yard touchdown, 28-28 going into halftime. That was just basically how this secondary was. You're really, really bad. I think you're going to see very significant changes in the secondary next year. Players leaving, maybe coaches. I think they need major changes there. Safety's not always bad, but is rarely a strength at Clemson, and that seems unacceptable to me. All right, moving on up. I thought Cal. I've been pretty down on Virginia. I thought maybe this was where Cal would sneak up to get them. And, right on cue, Virginia does let them hang around. Cal has the ball down 3 with a chance to drive down the field, win the game. They throw a pick 6. Virginia finds a way again. Cal loses. They stay there at 13. 13. They were 13 last week. Florida State was 15 last week. They jump up to 12 because they finally got an ACC win. Just blasted Wake Forest at home, or in Florida, in Tallahassee, and they're going to come to Clemson. And I don't know if you're going to pick against Florida State, the team that has actually won multiple home games. Clemson can't win at home. Gotta lean Florida State there, despite Klubnik looking so good. That'll be an interesting one on the ACC network. Really nothing to play for there. It's crazy that Florida State at Clemson night game is an ACC network game, but that's where this conference is. Above them, you have Stanford. They were somewhat competitive, but lost at home to the Panthers, to Pitt. I think Pitt's very good. Virginia Tech actually led 16-7 at halftime against Louisville. Very good Louisville team. I really like Virginia Tech, but Louisville had them outgunned and shut them down in the second half. If you're Virginia Tech, go hire James Franklin. You got to do it. You can't make another strange hire like Brent Pry. Even at the time, Brent Pry was kind of like a little bit of a disappointing hire. Like no one had heard of him. A co-DC at Penn State. Like, come on. You got a chance to get James Franklin, maybe? Go do it. Go swing big. Big chance for Virginia Tech this offseason. It's going to be tough because you got all these big SEC jobs. Maybe Auburn opens up. You got LSU. You got Florida. And then the domino effect of those. Penn State. But I think Virginia Tech could go make a good hire here. Wake Forest, I still have 9. I still have them above Florida State. They are 5-3. They do have multiple ACC wins. I could have them lower. I could definitely have them below Florida State, but I don't judge this all in one win, one game. Definitely not this point of the season. At 5-3, they've had a good year. They'll make a bowl. I don't want to penalize them too much. So they stay there at 9. At 8, I have NC State. They tick up 1. This was a tough one, right? Like I could potentially move them way up, but like they're just so up and down, right? They didn't have Hollywood Smothers. They're running back. They still beat Georgia Tech. So the two teams that are kind of looked at as the best in the conference, Virginia, Georgia Tech. We'll see if they're 1-2 and in what order in these rankings. But those two teams, they both have losses to NC State, which is so weird because NC State, also struggled in so many other games. Just got blown out by Notre Dame and had some pretty disappointing losses. But NC State, very up and down. Huge win for them. Maybe it puts their season back on course. Maybe they can get to 6-7 wins before this thing is over and have, a mildly disappointing year, not a complete meltdown. And then 7. Oh, sorry. I skipped over. 7. Yeah. 7 Duke. That pass offense is awesome. I mean, Clemson's pass defense was mostly to blame, but Connor Barghouti, the transfer from Harvard, he roasted Clemson 127 yards. Darian Mensah, fantastic. Maybe the best. Got to be close to the best quarterback in this conference. Probably Haynes King, but otherwise maybe it's him. He's awesome. They only ran the ball for 78 yards and still put up 46. I think offensive coordinator Jonathan Grimes is someone who maybe has caught Clemson's attention if they're smart. He had all the right answers. They came through on every fourth down. I don't think that Duke is an exceptional football team, but they have a very, very good head coach, a good offensive coordinator, and a very, very good quarterback in Darian Mensah. That's a combination that'll take you far enough if the rest of your team is just okay. And I think that's what they are. So that's quality in this conference. Miami was number 1 in their own tier just a few weeks ago. They lose to Louisville. They beat Stanford. Now they lose again, this time to SMU. They're pretty much out of the ACC hunt, probably out of the playoff hunt. It's completely unacceptable. They fall apart the second half of every season. And this year they had a really good roster. They brought in a quarterback who could win big games. And, they didn't do it this time. Carson Beck threw a pick in overtime, which allowed SMU to go down and get the game-winning touchdown. So above them, I have SMU, who's 6-3 overall with those 2 Big 12 losses, but they're in the hunt for the ACC championship and thus a return to the playoff, 4-1 in the conference. They just beat Miami. They just beat Clemson. That loss to Wake Forest is really weird. Had they not made a few of those fumbles and mistakes at Wake Forest, they'd be in control of the conference, undefeated in conference play. You'd be looking at SMU, Virginia most likely. As it is, there's going to be some tiebreakers that I don't think favor them right now. because they did lose to Wake Forest. Georgia Tech, common opponent, beat Wake Forest. So I think SMU's a little bit behind the 8 ball there. But Red Lashley, who just signed an extension with SMU, I think there's an argument. I would say Jeff Brom, but I think there's an argument. He's the best coach in the ACC. Really, really good, really, really impressive. An amazing hire for SMU, and he's elevating them to one of the top 5 teams in this conference and top 5 or 6 program in the conference already, which is wild. Pittsburgh, mentioned they played Stanford. They won again. The freshman quarterback, Mason Heinschel, he had 2 picks, so he's kind of like not faded, but looks a little bit more like a freshman, a little less perfect now. Pitt still scored 35. They still won on the road, 35-20 over Stanford. Now they end with Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Miami. They're 7-2. They were 7-6 last year. I think maybe they get one of these, maybe go win a bowl game. 9 wins. Yeah, Narduzzi, big success for him. He'll be staying there. Good for him. At number 3, I have Louisville. And everyone know, if you watch these, I'm really high on Louisville. Contemplating putting them number 1. They were a little slow to start against a Virginia Tech team I respect, but they dominated the second half. Despite Miller Moss only throwing for 136. I think Miller Moss has been a little bit less than I expected, but their defense and run game, really good. I think they're going to be really tough for Clemson in 2 weeks. But Isaac Brown hurt his leg. That's their star running back. And Jeff Brom made it sound kind of serious where he said he might be out for a little while. Unfortunately, he hurt his leg there, and we're anticipating him being out for a while. That's a blow. That's why I have him at 3 and not 1 or 2. So Georgia Tech, who just lost. Virginia, who's undefeated in the conference, but they also lost to NC State. I have Virginia too, right? I don't think Virginia is amazing, but at a certain point, they keep winning. Their schedule is really easy. That win over Louisville had a 10% win expectancy. So, I don't want to say that they are better than Louisville, but look, Louisville's now without their star running back. They didn't look that good, especially in the first half against Virginia Tech. Virginia deserves to jump them, I think. Virginia and Georgia Tech is a toss-up. They both have the same loss at NC State, and I don't want to give an extra penalty to Georgia Tech because it's more recent or because that happened to be a conference game where it's a special out-of-conference non-con game for Virginia. So I think Georgia Tech's better than them. But as you get to Georgia Tech, I do have some concern. The defense looked terrible against NC State. That defense is one that I thought was going to be bad coming into the year. They've exceeded expectations by a mile. Is this one game, is this one game a sign that they're regressing to what we expected, regressing to the talent level, regressing to losing your DC? What's going on? Haynes King, the quarterback, Georgia Tech quarterback, had 511 yards. They still lose. That's brutal. This defense was really bad to lose in Raleigh. But look, Virginia also lost in Raleigh. It can be tricky there. I think NC State can be good at times. I don't think any of these teams would be particularly competitive against the top of, the SEC or the Big Ten. Although we'll see. I could be proven wrong. If Georgia Tech could beat Georgia, that would be a big statement. We'll see. But right now, I think those even maybe the top 5, if you believe that Miami is sinking, those top 5 are all really in the mix. You could argue any of them 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Duke only has 1 ACC loss, but Georgia Tech has the tiebreaker on them. So that's even a bit of a, they're still in the mix. Pitt was bad early, but they look great now. I would not be at all surprised if Pitt goes to Atlanta and beats Georgia Tech. Who knows? Virginia's path is fairly open, but honestly, if they were to lose even just a Wake Forest, I wouldn't be surprised. So crazy parity at the top half. Unfortunately, Clemson, Florida State, the 2 big dogs, and even Miami now dropping, not really part of that mix. It's not going to be great for the TV ratings, but if you're a fan of those teams, you don't care. Let me know what I got right, what I got wrong. You guys have been hammering me on Virginia. I finally moved them up to number 2 above Louisville. I'm sure someone's going to complain they're not number 1. You could tell me all about it in the comments. I always appreciate it when you do, whether you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching. Thank you to our sponsor, Ready Vets. If you live in the upstate and have a dog or cat that needs immediate care, Ready Vets is the place to go. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.